Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great Thursday so far, and as well as a great start to your day. And today is January 23rd, 2025, and in today's forecast, we are going to be talking about a serious weather pattern change that is going to be coming to the United States by the time we get into the end of this month and into the beginning of February, where we'll be seeing shots of cold air and shots of warm air, which could bring the potential for maybe some more winter storms, but we could also be seeing some of those storm systems just being rainfall, as well as we'll even be seeing a lot of shots of warm air rolling on through. So it's kind of going to be a wild pattern. And if you compare that to what the models were showing yesterday, they actually mostly just showed warm air. But now that we're looking at the models today, they're now pointing out both shots of warm air and cold air rolling on through in February, which is going to set up a pretty wild pattern. So we will definitely keep an eye on it very closely for you. But if you are new here to the YouTube channel, or if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to go down below and click that subscribe button, as we upload every day on this YouTube channel. And it's also good to check back often for updates, as we will sometimes do more than one video per day depending on how active the weather is. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up too as well. Those help out more than you know, and those are appreciated. And make sure to share this with any friends, family, or anyone who you know on social media. If you guys would please do that, that would be much appreciated, so that way we can help get the word out to everyone. And let's get right into today's weather forecast. But let's first start off by giving you guys an overview on what the United States is going to be looking like these next few days. And if we look at it, you guys can see how we still got those cold alerts still in effect for parts there of the deep south, as that cold air still isn't out of here, guys. We're still talking a lot of cold air down here from Louisiana all the way back up there into the Carolinas, which means that snow and ice that we saw during the last few days, that was pretty historic, by the way, is still sticking around today on the roadway. So if you are planning on driving, make sure to continue to use extreme caution on those roadways, as they don't really have very many salt trucks down there, so there's more than likely some snow and ice down there on the roadway still. So like I said, if you are going to be traveling this morning, continue to use extreme caution on the roadways, especially if you live over there in North Carolina, where we also do have some winter weather advisories still in effect due to some ocean effect snow showers are still ongoing. So we will definitely need to be watching this very closely, but most of that winter storm should be completely done, and most of it was even expected to be done by yesterday. Now, let's go ahead and talk about our temperatures as we get into the beginning of our February. This is going to be one of the biggest things that is going to make this a pretty wild pattern, and if we look at what we can expect by the time we get into the end of this week, we are going to be tracking a little bit of a warm-up. Not much of a warm-up, but a little bit of a warm-up by the time we get into Saturday later this week across the Midwest, a little bit there in Michigan and Wisconsin, into the lower Ohio Valley, and as well as the Southern Plains, which will likely experience a little bit of warm air. Like I said, not much, but a little bit. So we will definitely need to watch that very closely, as it will be a little bit noticeable. And then after that, a lot of warm air out from the west is going to try to surge on in eastward, possibly brings a little bit of cold air by the time we get into Monday of next week, which will kind of be crazy, as we not only will be seeing warm air this weekend, but we'll be seeing some cold air once again as we get into the beginning of next week. And then after that, we actually get another big time warm up by the time we get into the very end of our February, guys. This is going to be very noticeable, as we'll be seeing well above normal temperatures across Minnesota. Look at that, those dark pinks that you see. We're talking 29 degrees above normal, guys. This is going to be a pretty wild pattern, as we'll be seeing a lot of warmer than normal temperatures try to surge on in from Canada. And of course, this cold air that you see up here is going to try to build on in right behind it, and same goes over here out to the west, which is why we're going to be tracking the potential for another big time cold shot of cold air by the time we get into the beginning of February. But we thankfully continue to stay a little bit warm for another day or two as we get into February 3rd, which will be for your Monday after next week. So we will definitely need to be watching a lot of this area very closely, as a lot of this area is then going to start to see those below normal temperatures once again by the time we get into Tuesday, February 4th. So once again, we will need to watch this very closely, as it's going to be very noticeable and it's going to be very wild, guys. A very wild pattern, as we'll be seeing surges of warm air and cold air coming on in from Canada, which could even set up the stage for even some winter storms. And just to show you guys that, the latest from the GFS model, this isn't surprising, by the way, because if you guys remember what we were talking about in the last video, we were saying that there was going to be a little area of warm air right there, and it turns out we're still expecting that, as the GFS model is showing a potential winter storm developing down here. Okay, so it starts down here in Texas by the time we get into February 1st, which will be at the very end of this week. And then after that, we then start to see this push on in here by the time we get into Sunday this weekend, which will be on February 2nd. Sorry, I didn't mean to say this weekend. I meant to say next weekend, because this weekend it'll still be January. But as we get in the next weekend, though, this is when we'll see that potential for some winter storm activity across the Great Lakes and as well as the Ohio Valley. So we will need to be watching this system very closely by the time we get into the beginning of February, which will be at the very end of next week, like I said. And it looks like we'll even have some heavy rain to watch for down there in the deep south. So we will definitely continue to watch that very closely for you guys, as we could even see a lot of that even continue to impact the areas in the mid-Atlantic and as well as the northeast. But if we compare that to the European model, you guys can see how the European model does show it a lot bigger, but it actually shows it starting more just plain old rain. Instead of starting as a winter storm, it shows it just starting like plain old rain down here in the Ohio Valley all the way back down there into the southeast. And that's because we'll have this warm air trying to surge on in from the Gulf of Mexico, or even the Gulf of America, you can call it. And then after that, we then start to see a lot of that winter storm then go up here into the mid-Atlantic and as well as the northeast by the time we get into the beginning of January or February. And this is because this low is going to be right off those coastal areas, likely bringing some pretty heavy snowfall over there from Maine all the way back down there into New Jersey by the time we get into February 3rd. So we will definitely need to be watching this very closely, as it could be another one of our big winter storms. But keep in mind, though, that models are kind of going to be all over the place with this, because once again, if you compared it to yesterday, it did not, these models did not show as much cold air as they now are showing today, which kind of means they're just going to be going back and forth between what we're going to see. So if I were you, I would at least be paying attention, but not really getting too serious about these storms just yet, because these storms are still likely going to shift around. These storms are still likely to change a lot. So like I said, be paying attention to this, but don't be getting too serious about it, as these storms are still expected to change a ton. Now, if we take a look at what we could see as we get into February again, this is what's going to give us the good idea on what we could see as we get into February. And once again, we could be talking a very active February across the Great Lakes and as well as the Ohio Valley by the time we get into February, and this could even be a little bit of a impactful storm track even over there across the northwest, and it looks like we'll be in a La Nina type of setup where we see this jet stream kind of go like that across the northwest Great Lakes and as well as the Ohio Valley, which means we could definitely be seeing a La Nina like pattern with even this cold air trying to surge on down, which is why we got equal chances like the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, equal chances for both warm air and as well as cold air. So we'll keep an eye on it very closely for you guys. Like, once again, things are likely to still shift around a little bit as we get into February, but I definitely do think it could be very similar to what the Climate Prediction Center is showing, so we will definitely watch it very closely for you guys, as this could be one of the more active Februarys to come, so make sure you are paying attention. But once again, don't get too serious about it just yet, as we are still heading over 11 days out. Now, let's look at your total snowfall and also your total rainfall as we get throughout February. This is kind of just what I like taking a look at, just to give us a good idea on what we could see as we get into February. And as you guys can see, by the time we head throughout February and into the very beginning of March, you guys can see how February could be a very active month with higher elevation snowfall out here in the west, especially places like the Cascades, Sierra Nevadas, back over there in the Idaho, even areas like Jackson, Wyoming could even get some pretty heavy snowfall. Same goes with the higher elevations over there in Colorado. And we obviously got to watch the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Northern Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast for even some pretty heavy snowstorms by the time we get into February. And it also sounds like that snowstorm track is also shifting a little farther to the north, because I'm actually not seeing as much snowfall down here compared to these areas farther to the north. So it's kind of a little shift to the north, but once again though, we're still expecting some very heavy snow to occur, so we'll watch it very closely for you guys, as that will be concerning. And of course with the rainfall, same thing, where we could be seeing once again a very active February down here in the deep south, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, with a lot of snow, a lot of heavy rain. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it for you, as areas down here in the deep south could be our active severe area in February, where we could be seeing tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail as we get into February. So like I said, we will be watching for that return of potential severe weather as we get into February, especially as we get into the very end of it. And of course the Northwest could even be active too as well, with more atmospheric river events to still come. So we will definitely watch all of that for you very closely, so make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will continue to keep you guys up to date with the latest. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's weather forecast. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, so that way you guys don't miss out on any future weather videos or live streams that we do here on this channel. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up too as well. Those help out more than you know, and those are much appreciated. And make sure to share this with any friends, family, or anyone who you know on social media. If you guys would please do that, that would be much appreciated. And feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. Feel free to leave anything down below, and I'll get to those comments in just a second. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.